Kakati-Shah, your host for The Show. Welcome to your one-stop journey for feeling empowered. We're a platform for change. We build confidence. We are your voice. We want you to be bold, be you, be Uma. Today, we're exploring women supporting women, and I'm so excited to be joined from California by our goddess of go-getting, Shraddha Patel, who is an executive editor for Mommas. Welcome, Shraddha. How are you?
I'm good, Rita. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So tell us about your background and how you grew up.
Sure. I am born and raised in the United States to parents who came, to study, as many of us kind of have that similar story. And they settled here. I grew up in Virginia, moved out to California for my husband's training and work, and never left. We will have been here 12 years in June.
Wow. It's amazing how life just takes a turn and then the rest is history, I guess.
Absolutely. It feels like it just flew by.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what did you study and what were your career choices?
Well, I went into the University of Virginia going in with the thought that I would become a doctor. Pretty common story. So I left there with degrees in biology and economics with also studies in computer programming and computer science. So, but with all of that, I think we've written several posts on Mommas about this over the years, but it really kind of came down to, I'm a natural creative, I like to talk to people, I like to paint, I like to draw, I like to write. With that said, the practical side of me is there too. So I have used my degrees throughout my career. I was a project manager for several years. I am now a recruiter, and I very much enjoy that because part of that is definitely that connection side, being able to talk to people and make a difference in their lives, which is a huge part of my why. So that's a little bit about my educational background. Mommas serves as a huge component for me in terms of my creative outlet and also the layer of connection, like talking to you right now, fills my heart and soul because that's what it's about. It's about talking to people, getting to know people, and Mommas, a huge part of our why is sharing the stories of South Asian women. And so, yeah.
So what actually ultimately led you to starting your journey with Mommas?
Sure. Nisha on the team and I have been friends since we were like 5. She also grew up in Virginia. I moved to California 1 year after her as a 30-year-old newly married woman. As we know as women, it is hard to find friendship. It is a lot of work in your 30s, and as the older that you get. I was so grateful for Nisha being out here because it felt like home. It felt like family. And we hadn't been in touch for a few years, but it felt like very much just home. And in talking to her and the creative sort of person she is, she's like, Shraddha, we need to do something. We need to create something. At the time, she mentioned the word blog. This is now 9+ years ago. I didn't know what a blog was. I had no idea. I had to Google it and be like, what are you even talking about? Fast forward, she introduced me to Rena, who she had met out in San Diego, and also Pooja. And they have fun stories of how they met. So I'll let them share those with you. But basically, it was just meant to be. We met over a nice dinner. We talked about, just sort of our passions. And it led to a place where we felt there was no place at that time where South Asian women had come together to talk about stories, not only that could relate to all women, but that would also be sort of specific to our stories and like our experience. And so we created to really, we came together to really create a space to not only share our stories, but over time, the community stories. And we've been so humbled by this outpouring of people. We call them sisters, right? Our friends in the community that literally trust us to share their story through Mommas.
Mm. Well, it is an absolute sisterhood that you're building. So it's incredible the work and the impact that you've really, really had about that. So obviously, along the way in life, there were so many challenges. Can you share a challenge with us? What do you do about that?
Sure. The one that comes to my mind is I delivered my twins very early at 24 weeks, which is basically 4 months early. And this was my first pregnancy that turned into an actual child, I guess, like an actual baby in my arms. But with that, I did lose one of my twin boys, Kush. Jay, my twin who survived, went through a very hard first 5+ years of his life. He survived lung disease. He was in the NICU for 125 days, the hardest days of my life. I think that experience really further propelled this notion of we have to tell, when we feel comfortable, the things that are happening in our lives, because in doing so, we heal, a part of us heals, and we are providing a sense of healing for those that are receiving the story. And so even in that dark time, I really found light in being able to, with this team, and at that time it was Nisha, Pooja, and Reena, to be able to really have my girls with me, my women, like my sisters, and they were a huge part, and Chai Mommas was a huge part of my healing, if I'm being completely honest. And so I feel like it kind of felt like, wow, I mean, anytime you go through a tough thing, you have two choices. You have an opportunity to stay in the negative space, or you have an opportunity, and I wouldn't say an opportunity, you have the choice to make to stay there. And I did stay there for a while, so I'm not going to pretend like it was just like, okay, I'm going to bounce back. But you have an opportunity to really seek out the tools, the very long-term sustainable tools that will help you then. Maybe you'll never understand why that happened, right? But you have an opportunity to make something good out of that, and one of the good things that happened was Chai Mommas for me. We were only a few months into planning when I delivered.
Wow.
And so that's why I wouldn't have survived without my husband, number one, my faith, my meditation practice, and these girls. It's just plain and simple. And so our feeling and our mantra has always been that we come from a place of wanting to help as many women bring positivity and upliftment into their day every day. That is the whole point of Chai Mommas. And then also being able to help others in need. And that is why our charity work is so important to us.
So beautifully said. Thank you for sharing that. And share a little bit about, the personal impact of Chai Mommas. Obviously, it's had a huge impact in your life. It's been around for about 10 years now. So share some of those stories with us.
Sure. Part of Chai Mommas has always been about making connections and really nurturing them and nourishing them. And so that has led us into so many beautiful collaborations, so many opportunities to speak with people like you that, if it wasn't for this platform, wasn't for the blog, probably wouldn't have met. Maybe not in this lifetime, maybe another lifetime, right? But it has really connected. And I think that is and I mentioned that early on, that's kind of why I love the work the day job that I have, right? The recruitment, it's an opportunity to really understand where other people are coming from. And I think that even extends into, and maybe I'm just so simplistic in how I think, Rita, but I honestly feel like the more we talk, the more we actually, lower the wall between us, the more we talk from our truth and our heart, that like we honestly are more similar than we're not. And that in turn hopefully makes for a better world. You know, that is what we're not only living by as women, but what we're trying to extend and teach our own children.
Yeah.
That we lead with kindness, that we lead with an open heart. And even when it's not reciprocated, you know, we understand that perhaps the most sort of hurt people or the most angry people or the people that are taking it out on us are perhaps the most hurt and need to be heard more, you know? Mm-hmm. I've had so many chances to work with women that come across initially as like a little, I don't want to use a negative word, but just a little bit like, what are you guys really about kind of thing. And then when they get to know us and they understand, they're like, wow, you gave me a chance to really share something that was on my heart and I couldn't get it out. And I feel like that's like the biggest win for me. It's not even about win, but it feels like so like impactful, and that this work is not just a blog of us talking about and no sort of negativity towards a recipe or anything. We all need that, but it feels really good when we're able to let people really take the burden off of them with like sharing something. Yeah. So hopefully I answered your question, but like for me, Chai Mommas has just been amazing in the connections and the sisterhood we've created, in some of the products we've created. Even if I may speak about that for a second, you know, we collaborated with a bunch of wonderful heart-centered women to create the Diwali box, you know, Raksha Bandhan, which is our kind of initially it started as a brother-sister day, but we changed the narrative and really said, hey, you know, all relationships should be celebrated, you know, not just brother-sister, but sister-sister, cousins. Like, what if you don't have a sibling? Friendships, you know? Yeah. So kind of feel like it's been a really beautiful journey of several things. And it's all kind of stemmed from this idea of truth, sisterhood, compassion, empathy, and grace for all people.
Truly remarkable journey indeed. So with all of that, what do you do to unwind?
What do I do to unwind? I love a good cup of chai. I know that's very, that's like, okay, come on, come up with something else. But I honestly love the ritual of tea. It is something that, and it doesn't have to be chai. I mean, I love tulsi tea. I love, you know, rose. It doesn't matter. I feel like it's almost become this thing where even simply pouring the water and, you know, like holding the cup and just the warmth and, you know, really, and I think along with that is the idea of meditation, and almost it is a meditative process for me now. And so that is one thing. Unwinding for me is also simply listening to music that feeds my soul. I am a lover of music, and it is always playing in our house. And the final thing is just good quality time with those that I love. And it's often, for me, I'm a very much people person. I like my alone time, but I really crave time with my family and friends. I haven't seen my Chai Mommas in a year, and it is breaking my heart. Pandemic, go away. But it is really, you know, my husband's very busy. So even when we get 30 minutes, we really hone in on just focusing on us together. If it's just us or with the kids, no technology around. I don't have it in my room 30 minutes before bed. I wind down and I'm not, you know what I mean? So I honestly feel like those things have worked for me, but I am craving when we can have like time together with the girls to really unwind.
Soon. Just think of that light at the end of the tunnel.
I know. Yep. It's keeping me going.
Yep, absolutely. Before we let you go, what advice would you give to your younger self about to go into the motherhood journey for the first time again?
That's a great question. Wow. I actually want to write a post on this. I would tell myself that, you know, don't give up. I struggled to get pregnant. You know, I struggled for 2 whole years, went through That's a whole other topic. I went through a lot of loss, and I would tell my newly married self, because again, I got married at 30 and it was like top of the mind. We both wanted children early. And after going through that crazy 2 years and thereafter, what happened with my older one, I would say, don't give up. And I didn't give up. So it's almost like, but man, that's tough. It's so much I want to say. I want to say, you've got this. And you know what? You're going to be able to be the best mom to the kids that you are blessed to receive. And often I felt through the journey of, why me? Like, why is this happening to me? Like, why, I don't know if I'm built to handle a very sick child, if I'm being completely honest, and early on, when I knew things weren't going to be easy for me to get pregnant, there was a lot of that, why me, why me? And I would say to that, Shraddha, I would say, you know what, Shraddha, it's going to all make sense. It's going to all make sense. You just need to write out each day and go in with the confidence that you have, knowing that, and I hate to say it because it feels cliche, but what's meant to be will be, and you are prepared for it. You are prepared for any challenge that comes your way. And you're going to be the exact mom that your children need when you become a mom.
Amazing words. Thank you so much, Shraddha, for sharing your incredible story with us today. And thank you to our viewers for joining us on this empowerment journey. We want you all to embrace that inner goddess of go-getting. We want you to be bold, be you, be Uma.